We just got something in the mail here. It says photo document mailer, which is interesting. This is from Anthony, one of our dear friends, Anthony. Where did this come from? Urbana, Ohio. All right, Mr. Anthony, let's crack her open. It feels like paper. I don't know. What could it be? Could it be a book? Could it be? It's too small for a vinyl, unless it's a 7-inch. And it could be some CDs maybe, but I don't feel anything plastic. I'm very intrigued. And I'm also like really bad at opening these things because, oh, there was a strip. Because it could be, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What the? A big shout out to my friend Anthony for sending me this package. I'm excited to go through it with you. We're going to go one by one. I was walked over from some things have fallen out. So we're going to try to keep it all together and see what we got in this. This is documents. It looks like we have mostly documents here, which is cool. A lot of history in here. So we're going to dive in. Let's start with this thing here. This says, singer Phil Collins asks his wife for divorce. Phil Collins has asked his wife 10 years for divorce in London. Okay. This is divorce from Jill. That's interesting. Cute. Very cool. Some newspaper clippings. Another one, Collins, Sears concert partners. Sears, Roebuck. Look at, they're using the same photo. Sears, Roebuck & Co. hoping to enhance appeal to young consumers. This is cool. This must be like both sides era? I'm not sure. Okay, so what do we have here? This looks like print-offs of web articles from Life, USA Today. Collins makes Grammy party a family affair. So what is this? Is this like print-offs from like articles from 1990? Would they have even had, where would this have come from? Oh, maybe this is like archived and they're printed later. At Nebworth, Singing in the Rain, Hip Rock News, Hammer Jam. Interesting. Okay. Grammy lineup. 1991, Bob Dylan will make a rare TV appearance at the Grammy Awards show on CBS. Other performers, presenters include Phil Collins, Randy Travis, Wilson Phillips. Cool. I like Wilson Phillips. Phil Collins' Groovy Kind of TV on tour, 1990, September 7th. Having conquered the charts as a solo act and as a member of Genesis, become a fixture on MTV and dabbled in movies. Phil Collins dives primetime Saturday into his first network TV special. What was that? Cool. All right, let's get to some of the fun stuff here. These are print-offs, which is cool. Columbus Dispatch, article with citation 1992. People Weekly, April 8th, 1885. So this is like on a dot matrix printer, like it's still connected. So what is this from? Like, I'm guessing that like maybe Anthony had these like articles that he found archived. Like, how did he get them printed if they're from 85? Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what this is. This looks like a discography. Oh, this is like a list of articles from the Dispatch. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not really familiar with these print-offs are, but like, look, they're dot matrix. I haven't seen that in a while. Here is another print-off of an article or photocopy of an article. Maybe this is from like the library or something. This looks like it is the Book of Genesis. Collins, Rutherford Banks write another chapter in their new album, We Can't Dance. Oh, cool. An album review of We Can't Dance. This is really cool. See, this is going to be fun to read. Some of the stuff I'm going to earmark that I want to read because it's, oh, and there's an ad for Game Boy in here. That is crazy. This takes me back. I mean, I had a Game Boy and I had We Can't Dance in 92. Yeah, this would be interesting. So this one I'm going to set aside because I want to read that. I think what's cool about this is like, I have a soft spot for We Can't Dance because I got it when it came out on cassette as a kid. And so to read an article of what people were, and then we all have these opinions over the years of We Can't Dance. And they're informed on our own nostalgia. And some people really didn't like it at the time, so they've never really given it a chance. And it'd be just interesting to read articles of what people were saying about the band in 92, because that was their best-selling record. I still think it is their best-selling record, We Can't Dance. Okay, so we got some more photocopies here. Something about Phil Collins. Looks to be just some information about different artists. Genesis. This could be from a book or a magazine about just information about, just information about artists. Cool. Okay. All right. Now we're getting to some newspapers here. This is cool. And this looks old. Oh, wow. Phil Collins sings during a concert at the stadium last night. Behind him, a giant video screen. So this is The Plain Dealer, Tuesday, May 26th, 1992. That wasn't a good look for Phil, that big open hoodie, open sweater. It looks like Chandler. Okay, so this is 92. So this is would be a reception cool. This looks like a somewhat negative review of, and there's another one here. Art rockers offer concert for all ages. Genesis mostly drew couples and families, but also attracted everyone from grandparents to grade schoolers. So this is from the We Can't Dance tour. I never got to go to the We Can't Dance tour. It's just a real bummer for me. Scene, Entertainment Weekly. This is a free newspaper from 1993. A conversation with Mike Rutherford. Okay. All right. So this would just be a rock magazine, one of these free things you'd pick up in record stores. And in here somewhere is an interview with Mike Rutherford. That's cool. And so this would have been 93. I mean, I wonder if, here it is. Oh, here's a cool question. So this is from 1993. What's the timetable on the last question in this article? What's the timetable on the next Genesis studio album? What we do is leave with the intention of doing another album somewhere down the line, but that until I've done Mike and Mechanics and Phil's got a film or two and a bit of solo albums, there's no point in even talking about it. You have to get that under your belt before you can even start talking about another Genesis album and tour. Obviously, we have every intention of doing another album, so it'll be down the line somewhere. This was in January of 1993, and we know about a year later, Phil leaves the band. So that's, this is cool. This is what I appreciate from Anthony here, is that stuff like this is a moment in time before we know what we know now or what we knew a year later. And so to read this is like, okay, Phil's going to work on a film and going to work on a studio album, and Mike Mechanics are going to work on another album, and the Genesis are going to get back together. Anybody reading that would have been naive to know, or not naive, but they just would have been like, okay, everything's good. So it's kind of cool to read these moments in time, to read just anticipation, optimism about the future of the band when we know that now. 1993, Collins shoots for drummer's drummer. This is just an article about Phil. Is it about, this is just about his drumming. I don't know if this is about a tour or anything. Genesis smashes a homer at stadium. This is another clip from the We Can't Dance tour. This is a review of the May 25th Genesis concert at the stadium. The only Cleveland stop on the We Can't Dance tour was ample reward for the faithful fans who defied frigid weather to see the 25-year-old group. Frigid weather in May. Okay. More clippings here. Oh my gosh. This is cool. This is the advertisement for both sides from a newspaper, full color ad at the Coliseum, presented by Sears. This is how old it is. There's no more Sears. This is from March 25th, 1994. So this is the Both Sides tour, potentially. Monday, July 11th, 8 p.m. Tickets on sale tomorrow. That is just so cool. You just don't see that anymore, right? Like Taylor Swift wouldn't advertise her concert in a newspaper. You just don't see that. And to say tickets on sale tomorrow in a newspaper. Like it's just, that's old news. So, and in the old days, you would have gone to the Coliseum or you would have gone to a record store that sells Ticketmaster tickets and missed those days. Okay, this one looks so crazy and I'm such a Both Sides fan. I'm going to save this one and I'm going to maybe frame that one, or I'm just going to hang it here in the studio on the wall. Like I have some other stuff. I do actually have a magazine ad similar to this one. Oh, these are stuck together. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. No. Got some magazine ads here. This is, okay, first of all, let's talk about this. That's what kitchens looked like in 1994. So this is Phil Collins' ad for Coming in May. And then another ad that says, oh, Phil Collins, Tour of America. Oh, I see. Okay, look. Phil Collins, Coming in May, Tour of America. So a magazine ad, the biggest concert, and then it scratched out and says the nicest concert. Presented by Sears. Okay. Well, this is cool. Phil Collins Concert Connection only at Sears. You could win a Phil Collins backstage package to LA or won a million prizes. So it looks like in 1994. Oh, look at this. All about Phil and all about the tour. In 1994, you could, this is really cheesy looking. Eh? It's super early 90s. And there's the set list. You could win, all the concert in 94 was sponsored by Sears, which is just kind of like, was a little bit of like a death shot to like the future of Phil. It was like, he's now like department store music, you know, because it's his audience who was young and college aged in Hello, I Must Be Going and No Jacket Required. It's now 10 years later, they're now in their 30s, they're settling down with families. And so it's just kind of, it's funny, like to be sponsored by Sears. Major Entertainment in Columbus. This is just looks like a brochure. And this just looks like, we got a picture of Phil there. You know, basically a collector would just, anything with Phil on it or Genesis over the years would grab it. And it's cool because you can't do this anymore. There's just no print material of your favorite artists. I suppose you could collect like the Time magazines of Taylor Swift. And there are, you know, collectibles and books and stuff, but like actual clippings would be really rare. So if you lived in a town and you saw your favorite artist in a newspaper, that would happen once every couple of years when they released an article or an album. But still, it'd be just pretty rare. So it was a good time to be a collector. I was just talking to Adam from the Genesis Museum about this and how like a Taylor Swift fan can't collect everything Taylor Swift in the same way that you could collect everything Phil Collins or everything Genesis easier in the 70s. Because there was a finite amount of stuff. There was a really limited amount of things. And there are people out there who can actually say, I've got everything, or I've got next to everything. You can account for everything. But today, you know, with Taylor Swift, there's just things being printed all the time, print on demand and digital printing and radio stations that are printing posters and then disposing of them and then record stores. And then there's all of the digital content out there. So it's just not possible to do this in 2025, 1994. I love Both Sides. I love that box set that just came out. I mean, of course, there was problems. We talked about that in the review. But I appreciate this package so much because it's so Both Sides focused, you know, and I love that. And I mean, I've talked about this. It was a weird time in my life. I saw the CD in a record store and I can't explain it. It was a really weird time. I was very, very young. I was 10 or 11 years old. So to kind of go back to when this album came out, and I think there have been a lot of people too who have been like trying to rationalize how kind of boring and not like No Jacket this album was, or not like But Seriously this album was. So everything he's been and more. So is this is about his tour. I'm really hoping in this package here we have some album reviews because that really excites me, is reading album reviews. So this is just advertising. Okay, to go see Both Sides in Cleveland. tickets were $40 for Gold Circle and $27.50 for the reserve seats. So your premium seats were the best seat you could get was $40, and then good seats were $27.50. That's insane. Like it's easily 10x that. Easily 10x that. 20 years later. No, 30 years later. Easily 10x. And in some cases, I mean, 400. If the best seat in the house was $400, what's the best seat in the house today at a big concert, even at Phil or Genesis concerts? Probably $4,000. So it's probably 100 times that. Crazy. Here's a picture. Here's something about Michael Eisner. Interesting. Okay. So Phil and Jill dropping the axe via fax. People Magazine, 1994. Interesting. After drawing close to an old flame, singer Phil Collins breaks up with his wife the new-fashioned way. Oh, is this the article? Okay, this could be a piece of history here. Is this the article that where the axe by fax? Is that the first time that headline was used? That's the now iconic headline, axe by fax. And there's Lily Collins, who's more popular than everybody now. Got to hang on to this because this. I'm curious if it was a newspaper or if it was. So does this talk about his affair? You know, like the book does, right? Mr. Nice Guy for his work in British charities, blah, 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 blah. I began telling audiences during his U.S. concert tour of a romantic encounter he had with an old girlfriend. He talked about it on his U.S. concert tour? I'm going to save that one. That's interesting. Oh, this looks cool. Phil's most colorful side was a private issue. The Phil Collins Big Band. Oh, cool. Oh my gosh, this is an advertisement for a credit card regarding the Phil Collins Big Band. Again, you can just see that this is like big band music. It's about rich people and making sure rich people get private credit cards, dinner club cards, you know what I mean? So it's like, you can just see the evolution of, he's not on the cover of like these like teen magazines anymore. Okay, that's Joni Mitchell. Oh, and here's Phil. Take a look at him now. Oh, and this is Dancing to the Light stuff. Lightweight. World Music is in the air tonight for Phil Collins. Okay, I got to save this. So this looks like Entertainment Weekly, and it's a somewhat negative review, C+ negative review of Dancing to the Light. I've got to save that. I'm going to read that because like album reviews, yeah, very interested in that. Oh, here's another album review. September 25th, 1997, time for Genesis to make an exodus. This is about calling all stations. Oh my gosh. Interesting. Gary Budzak, Columbus Dispatch. The third major lineup of Genesis has woven a travesty. Calling All Stations is a bad Mike and the Mechanics album with the name Genesis slapped on to boost sales. Oh man, that's rough. One has to wonder whether founding Genesis members Mike and Tony thought the following when Phil Collins left the group last year. Good, now we can do Genesis music the way it was meant to be. We hated being hit makers, whose songs sounded just like Phil's solo stuff, and Peter Gabriel was just an overrated fop. I like that album. But I didn't at the time. So time heals all wounds. Here is Dancing to the Light. His last album, Both Sides, was so downbeat the doctors could have prescribed it as an audio sleeping pill. This one's better, but not much. Phil Collins, Both Sides. The success of Phil Collins and Genesis is unprecedented in the rock world. Never has any franchise group lost a frontman as integral as Peter Gabriel and remains so powerfully alive. It is credit to the talent and charisma of Phil Collins that not only is Genesis alive and well, but his solo album is just that, solo. All instruments and synthesizers were played by Collins at his home on his 12-track, later overdubbed, were done and mastering by Studio Wid's Bob Ludwig, but it's all Phil. One problem with the performer doing it all is that he can be limited on some instruments by his own ability. This makes Both Sides more a work of flesh and blood, a truly heartfelt compilation. Perhaps there's no new ground broken nor styles explored, but that's a job for Genesis, not Collins. One complaint I have is with the politics of the title song and video. While Paradise, from But Seriously, was a gentle reminder to be nice to one another, both sides of the story seems to suggest, irresponsibly so, that the scum who rob, murder, and destroy people's lives only need a little understanding. Even with this gripe, it is apparent that Collins is a truly decent man, and these sentiments, though misguided, are sincere. This is funny, eh? This is like totally, it's funny, like in American politics, they're still talking about the exact same thing. Like there are people who are sympathetic to those who are down and out. And then there are those who have no patience for, it's just funny. It's like literally 40 years later, 30 years later, it's still an issue for people. So he's saying that both sides of the story, the political message is that everybody has a story, which is true. Like, you know, people aren't just born to be criminals. There's obviously a history of abuse and trauma, and this guy's not having that. Phil and Jill Collins, bitterness factor. What went wrong? People magazine. This is the kind of crap that they would put in these things back then. Okay, this is probably another free magazine. We still have these. Former Genesis singer will let his music do the talking at Nutter Center. Phil Collins, no speaking required. Very cool. Can you see that? Oh, an ad for Howard Stern Private Parts. An ad for Phil Collins. An ad for Jungle to Jungle with Tim Allen. This is an ad for Donnie Brasco, The English Patient. Like, we're seeing ads here for some of the most iconic movies of all time. It's so crazy. Sling Blade. Oh, man. Oh, and then look at this. Phil Collins through a magnifying glass. What a great piece of art. Former Genesis frontman dances around interview. Oh, there's some trivia here. Should we do this or should we make it a separate video? Test your Phil quotient. In addition to his solo work and his long-time association with Genesis, Collins did some time as a member of what other band? A jazz ensemble. What was its name? Was it A, Mike and the Mechanics, B, No Jacket Required, C, Brand X, or D, Generation X? That's easy. It's the band Generation X. Everybody knows that. Okay, very cool. We're going to go through those some other time. I'm not going to do that trivia. It's going to be too simple. Okay, here's a Phil Collins live by request. A&E. This is promoting the greatest hits. Anybody have this CD player? This is somewhat chronological, this package here. Thank you, Anthony. Genesis Archive, Volume 1. This is an advertisement. You could get it at Blockbuster Music, whatever that was. I don't remember Blockbuster Music. Rocker Phil Collins makes Disney Tarzan swing. Just Another Day in Paradise. Phil Collins teams with Disney Machine for the animated features soundtrack. And an advertisement for film, for Kodak Film. Last but not least, I think. Oh, no, there's more stuff in there. Last but not least, an advertisement for the hits from TotalE.com, music and videos. Cool. It's very nice. There's some of the stuff that is just really, really cool. Moments of time. We've got a few more things in here, or maybe just one stuck to the inside. This is cool. This is an advertisement for Phil Collins' The Hits. This had really great album artwork. And the new single, True Colors, available at Target from Atlantic Records. This is 1998. This piece would be from 1998. And that's it. Thank you, my friend Anthony, for sending me some of this stuff, all of this stuff. Some of it, I really want to sit down and read, especially the articles about the albums, the album reviews. I think that's really special. Some of this stuff, I'm going to frame it. I think my favorite one is that big yellow one. Where'd that go? That I don't know. But some of this stuff I'm going to hang here in the studio. I'm going to frame. But I'm going to hang on to this all. It's so cool. I'm going to add it to my collection. Thank you so much for sending it. And let me know any pieces here in the collection that you recognize. And I'm curious from people in our audience, I know there's some insane collectors out there, but anybody who has collected articles and clippings, and some of the people at Genesis Museum and Genesis fans over the years have collected Genesis reviews. That's one of my favorite things. And they republished reviews recently in a magazine. I think it was Record Collector. There was a magazine that published some old reviews, like republished them. And so it's kind of cool to kind of look back and say, here's what we think about Calling All Stations now, but what did we think about it 25 years ago? And here's what we think about, Trespass, or From Genesis to Revelation, but here's what they wrote about it back then. I love that kind of history. So thank you, Anthony, for sending these. Let me know, folks, what you liked from this collection and what you have in your collection. Thanks for watching.